There are some people who spend their entire lives searching for a place that feels like home. Not a house. Not a city. But a feeling. A warmth that can quiet the ache of uncertainty for just a little while. For M.F.K. Fisher, that place was often found at a table. Sometimes it was a small café hidden on a rainy street in France. Sometimes it was a quiet kitchen lit only by afternoon sunlight. Sometimes it was nothing more than warm bread, melted butter, and a moment of stillness in the middle of grief. Tonight, as the fire beside you glows softly in the dark, let us step quietly into her world. A world where food was never simply food. It was memory. Comfort. Survival. Love. And above all else, a way to remain human in a fragile and uncertain world. Imagine a cold evening in Europe many decades ago. Rain taps gently against the windows of a tiny French restaurant tucked between narrow stone streets. Inside, candlelight flickers across wooden tables while the scent of garlic, wine, and simmering broth drifts through the warm air. At one small corner table sits a young woman far from home. She has crossed oceans. Left behind certainty. Entered a life filled with unfamiliar language, unfamiliar customs, and the quiet loneliness that often follows reinvention. Yet in front of her rests a simple meal. A bowl of stew. Fresh bread. A small glass of wine. And somehow, within that small and ordinary moment, the world softens. This was something M.F.K. Fisher understood deeply. A meal cannot erase sorrow. But sometimes it can make sorrow easier to carry. She spent much of her life moving from place to place, through marriages and heartbreaks, through war, illness, separation, and loss. Yet wherever she went, she paid close attention to the rituals of nourishment. The sound of butter melting in a pan. The comfort of coffee on a cold morning. The smell of oranges in winter. The silence shared between people eating together after difficult days. To many readers, she appeared to be writing about cuisine. But beneath every description of food was another story entirely. A story about hunger in all its forms. Hunger for connection. Hunger for safety. Hunger for meaning. And perhaps that is why her words continue to feel so comforting even now. Because she never pretended life was simple. She only believed that tenderness could still exist inside complexity. As the years passed, the world around her grew darker. War spread across continents. People rationed food. Families lost homes, futures, loved ones. And still, M.F.K. Fisher continued writing quietly about meals. Not because she was escaping reality. But because she understood something essential. In difficult times, small comforts become sacred. A loaf of bread shared at the right moment can feel like hope itself. A carefully prepared dinner can remind people that beauty still exists. Even grief, she believed, could sit gently beside warmth if one allowed both to share the same table. Sometimes, after profound personal loss, she wrote about cooking with almost unbearable tenderness. Not dramatic sorrow. Not loud despair. But quiet details. Toast browning slowly in a pan. Soup steaming softly near an open window. The faint scent of wine lingering after guests had gone home. Within those small moments lived all the emotions too deep to explain directly. And perhaps tonight, you understand that feeling too. How certain smells can suddenly return you to another life. How certain meals can remind you of people no longer here. How warmth itself can sometimes feel like memory. M.F.K. Fisher grew older, as all travelers eventually do. The pace of her life slowed. The grand adventures became fewer. And yet strangely, her appreciation for simple things only deepened. A piece of bread with jam. Fresh fruit in afternoon sunlight. A quiet glass of wine beside an open window. She no longer needed extravagance. She had discovered that peace often hides inside ordinary rituals repeated gently over time. In the later years of her life, solitude no longer frightened her. She had learned how to create companionship from attention itself. From preparing food carefully. From writing honestly. From sitting quietly with the changing light of day. There is something deeply calming about people who have stopped fighting life quite so hard. People who have suffered, yet remained soft. People who understand that survival is not always loud heroism. Sometimes survival is simply continuing to nourish yourself despite everything. And tonight, perhaps you may allow yourself to rest inside that thought. You do not need to solve your entire life before sleeping. You do not need to silence every fear before finding peace. Maybe all you need tonight is one small moment of warmth. One quiet breath. One gentle pause in the endless movement of the world. Now imagine the fire beside you growing softer. Outside, rain falls quietly against distant windows. Somewhere in an old kitchen, butter melts slowly in a pan while candlelight flickers against wooden walls. M.F.K. Fisher sits peacefully at a small table, writing by hand late into the evening. Not rushing. Not worrying. Simply noticing the beauty hidden inside ordinary life. And as her words drift gently across the years toward you now, allow yourself to feel that same warmth settling softly into your chest. The day is over. The table is set. The world can wait until morning. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. And let yourself drift into sleep beside the quiet glow of food, memory, and the tender comfort of being cared for, even if only for tonight.